Hello and welcome to a quick channel update. And my shirt says, Wild at heart, free spirit, brave soul. I figured that would be a motivating shirt for today. Yes, I finally have found most of my floor. I have a box with some containers and empty binders I still need to find a home for, but yay, got most of the other stuff cleared off and still a few more things to get done. So, some quick updates in terms of what's coming up on the channel in May as I finally get back into the swing of recording and things. So, first off, readings. A huge thank you to Nicole Brona, who has given me permission to read from Obsidian Murders. This is book 1 of the Midnight Detective Agency. Very much looking forward to reading book 2 and 3 and hoping to get those shortly. So that is coming up, and then I will be doing a review of the book, and I've already had the honor of interviewing Nicole to chat about her work on one of my live streams. I'll also be reading from The Brown Yelp Gang. This is by Gareth Howells. I will be interviewing Gareth in July. We don't have a date set yet, to chat about his 2 works, The Brown Yelp Gang, as well as 10 Tales of Transformation. Yes, I am upset that although I annotate books, this one arrived with the cover bent. Can't say I'm too impressed with that. But Gareth has also given me permission to read from his works, so I will be reading a bit from the Brown Yelp Gang, and I will be selecting a story or 2 to read from 10 Tales of Transformation. Very much looking forward to chatting with Gareth about his works and our upcoming live stream together. Also, as it is Horror Mayhem Month, and be sure to check out Gareth's channel as well as all the other co-hosts of the event for their announcements and how to participate in the various activities. I have decided that since I do readings on Fridays, Grimm's Fairy Tales will be returning in June on Fridays, but during the month of May, I will be reading from Night Shift by Stephen King. This was a reread I just finished, I believe, last month. It was a wonderful revisit. There are some stories you never forget decades later, like Quitters Inc. And if you've read Night Shift, you know exactly what I mean about some of these stories sticking with you. So I still need to record them, but the stories that I've selected to read are going to be The Mangler, Battleground, The Man Who Loved Flowers, Children of the Corn, and The Ledge. Once I get those recorded and I have the dates figured out for when they'll be up and airing, I will be sure to put that in my community post with the dates. That covers what I will be sharing in terms of reading over the month. A big thank you to Nicole and Gareth. Be sure to check out both of their channels. Now, another author who I have been honored to meet and get to know is Margaret Pinard. And no, I didn't ask to read Margaret's work because it's so much better when Ven does it with that amazing Manchester accent. Margaret's story, The Keening, which is part of the Remnant series, takes place in Scotland a number of years ago. It has to do with a family relocating, not just from their original land, and because of all the things happening in the United Kingdom at that time. But they then come over to Canada and settle here. There are a number of different things that happen with the family, but I'm not sure me reading it would do it justice. I think Ven would be a much better reader of it. But I am going to be reviewing The Keening. Again, I was honored to interview Margaret to chat about her writing as well as her books, in particular The Keening. But a video that I have planned for May is to do a comparison of The Keening, which is book one of the Remnant series, published in 2015, versus A Court of Thorn and Roses, also published in 2015 by Sarah J. Maas. There are a number of interesting things about both of these books that I will be chatting about in an upcoming video. And like I say, they're both 10 years old. But sadly, there are not many people who know about the Keening or Margaret Pinard, and I think the word needs to get out there. If you enjoy historical fiction, it's an amazing read. She is an amazing individual, and we need to start getting the word out there about her. Also, going back to Sarah J. Maas, yes, I did finish the Court of Thorns and Roses series. There are 5 books in the series, but technically, because one's a novella, they're just referred to as book 1, 2, 3, 3.5, and 4. If you've been here for, as they say, more than a minute, you know I am not a fan of Sarah J. Maas. Sorry. If you are, that's great. I'm glad you found an author you enjoy. She has a number of different series, but no, I just can't say I am. So my review of her series is going to be called Akatar or Ekatar. And no, it isn't all a rant, because there are actually some very important things to this series, and I do think reading all 5 books were of benefit for a number of different reasons that I will be chatting about in my video. Because for me, the main turnoff was all the spice and graphic detail, and I just wasn't interested in that. But there are other people who enjoy reading that type of thing, and that's fine. I mean, the thing about reading is find what you enjoy and, what makes reading and fun for you. I will be doing that video. Probably it will be up at the end of the month, because I have done notes for this at least 4 times now, and I really do want to present a balanced view, but I also want to be careful that I don't give spoilers for people, because even though this series, like I say, this was published in 2015, I don't want to give away spoilers, because there are a number of people who are just now reading A Court of Thorn and Roses. So I want to really be careful and figure out how can I talk about this series spoiler free. So I need to get that figured out before I get it all edited and up. A video that I have waiting to be edited but will continue as a series, so I may wait to do all of them and then release them 12, 13 weeks in a row, is The Artist's Way. This is by Julia Cameron. It's a program that I am working through on my own. This will be my 3rd time through. I've mentioned it before, and when I get that first video edited Then I'll decide whether I'm going to put that up in May or get all the weeks recorded and then release them in order in case someone wants to follow along and do some of the activities. It's definitely one I highly recommend. As far as the lives, April 28th, so this coming Monday, I will be chatting with Mark from book Ramble. He will be Tuesday in New Zealand. I will be Monday evening in Canada. So we're going to do a bit of time travel. The following week, I will be chatting with my buddy Ven, the date yet to be announced. And he and I are going to be talking about the double standards that come across in books and TV series. So be sure to join us for that because Ven and I always manage to make it entertaining. If you saw the last stream, yes, we can even get agitated, but it's always a good time. The week after that, I will be joined by Nicole Brona. Yes, same author who I just mentioned. Our live stream this time is going to be talking about The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins and the Divergent series by Veronica Roth. The following week, I am with Jen from Literary Love 123 to chat about all books Stephen King. So I'm very excited about the upcoming live streams. Thank you so much to Mark, Ven, Nicole, and Jen for being able to join me. Looking forward to all of those chats and connections. Now that we're into spring, and yes, I'm in southwestern Ontario, so it's still a bit chilly here and a little too early to get out to do yard work. Typically here we wait until after May the 24th when all risk of frost is supposed to be gone, but we'll see what Mother Nature decides to do this year. So I will be out and about doing some recording of my yard work as I have some cleanup to do. I'm planning to have a small garden this year, so there's some things I need to get cleaned up there. So there'll be some more yard work and yard videos coming. A few I just need to get edited and posted. Cat videos hopefully will be returning regularly on the weekend. Tiki and Panther aren't doing their bit with the editing, but they certainly are doing their bit with letting me record them. So those you would think would be the easiest videos to do, but it's the narration and picking and choosing what to say and then putting it all together that every once in a while just I end up getting behind. So apologies if you're here to watch the kids, and eventually I will get that back on track again. Other things that are coming up in terms of my reading and videos. One thing of note is that my monthly wrap-ups will be changing a bit. I really had fun with the 5-book, 5-word video, and because I tend to talk about many of the books in separate videos anyway, so I think what I'm going to start doing for my monthly wrap-ups and my reading, like so many other people, is a bit off. You can see here there's a number of books that I've started and a number that I still need to finish. But I think what I'm going to do is just use 5 words to talk about the wrap-up books each month, and we'll see how that goes. As far as what am I reading and what else is potentially coming up to be covered in the month of May, I'm doing a buddy read with Kat from Ginger Bibliophile on the Vampire Chronicle series. I'll be starting with Interview of a Vampire and then going on to The Vampire Lestat, which I've recently finished, And then I went on to The Queen of the Damned. I'm about halfway. And yes, it does mean I'm a little bit ahead because this isn't due to be read until May. But I figure if I get a bit of a jump start, that will be good. The other reason I'm doing them back to back is because I want to watch the movie The Queen of the Damned, which we own, and do a comparison because that movie, although named after book 3, really draws heavily from The Vampire Lestat. I also want to get a bit of a jump ahead on that reading because I also need to start Dragon Reborn for the Wheel of Time. And if you know anything about the Wheel of Time series, those are not teeny books. So if I get a bit of a jump start on Queen, then I can hop over to Dragon Reborn and keep up. And this is why I love being part of group and buddy reads that are low stress, no pressure, and we just go with the flow of life, and it works for all of us. Another book that I just started the other day is The Hidden Life of Trees. This is by Peter Wolleben. This is by Peter Wolleben, and it is translated from German to English. He talks about his work with trees. He works in forestry, and so far I am very much enjoying it. Like me, he talks about trees and plants being sentient, as in aware of what's happening around them and having a means of communication with each other, because no communication is not strictly words. And that was something I was very aware of during my time as a case manager with clients who were all nonverbal. Yes, we did communicate. It was signs, it was facial expressions, bliss symbolics. There is a lot more to communication than just words. And yes, I am excited because he does mention the wolves in Yellowstone Park. There's a video called How Wolves Change Rivers. I do know from chatting with Margaret, there are some who say that clip wasn't accurate and it kind of overstressed the importance of wolves. However, to me, it's more about the ecosystem and understanding that humans are not always the best stewards of the planet. I mean, if you haven't figured that out yet, you're not paying attention to what's going on with the climate and numerous other things. Just putting that out. Another book that I did mention, and I'll probably be talking about this in June because, again, a lot of the books that I'm reading are not teeny, and my reading hasn't been as fast as I typically read, but I'm hoping that bit of a slowdown changes. But I'll be reading Drawing Down the Moon. This is part of a big project regarding pagan beliefs that I've mentioned before. This will be a reread for me. Yes, Noah, by the time I am done rereading this will be a very colorful copy. This was one of my repurchases, and I'm grateful that I found it at the thrift store. Obviously, whoever had it before either isn't a book murderer like me or didn't really read it because it's in immaculate condition and it's a Penguin classic. Another book that I've added to my basket, and no, Ven, this isn't because we have this ongoing thing with Paulo Coelho. In that case, it has to do with The Alchemist. I love it. Ven doesn't, and that's okay. And that's what I really enjoy about this amazing booktube community that I found is we don't all love the same books, and it leads to amazing conversations and, oh yeah, I didn't think of that, or oh yeah, you're right, that's something I missed. So we don't all have to love the same book. And I do think it's awesome to be able to listen to what some people think about books. And I keep saying to Kat, thank you for saving me time because now I know I don't want to read that book. But the book that I do have planned, and Paulo's books are always a quick read for me, I find anyway. This is The Valkyries. I hope I've said that right. I happened to find this during one of my thrift store hauls. I would have picked it up anyhow because it's Paulo. I personally enjoy his work. I am curious about this particular book, having just finished A Court of Silver Flames, where, of course, the Valkyries are mentioned, and it is a huge part of Nesta's story, the training with Cassian, as well as Gwyn and Elamera. Hopefully, I've said those characters' names right. So I want to see how the Valkyries are portrayed here. And of course, I have the Norse mythology books that I also need to read. That will give me a different perspective on how the Valkyries are portrayed in mythology. We've certainly heard about them in the Thor movies, how they're portrayed as self-motivational characters, which is what Paulo writes about, is self-help, self-motivation works. And then, of course, how they're portrayed in Romantasy by Sarah J. Maas. On top of that, and I have been waiting to read this since I found this at the thrift store a few months ago, and I keep putting it off because there are other things I needed to read. I have not read Dr. Sleep. I haven't found that at the thrift store yet. I may look to see if my library has it and decide to read The Shining and then Dr. Sleep right after because it is a continuation of Danny's story at the hotel. But this is definitely a perfect read for horror mayhem. I know many people read short stories for it. I have a number of those selected, but I really want to get back to The Shining. I loved reading this book. Oh, I'm just going to say decades ago. I love the book. I love the movie. Jack Nicholson plays a perfect crazy character. And I'm really looking forward to reading this again and see how I feel about it now. I've slowly been working my way through King's work again. I just listened to Carrie as an audiobook. It was read by Sissy Spacek. To me, the one and only Carrie. Sorry, I know they redid it to, appeal to a new audience, but no. Sissy is Carrie. I enjoyed the book as much this time as I did reading it as a teenager. My next king was Salem's Lot, and I've just reread that actually twice over the last couple of years. And again, other than that dog scene, which is thankfully not big in Salem's Lot, I did enjoy reading that again. I remember the miniseries with David Soul. Yes, Starsky and Hutch, that guy. And Lance Kerwin, which I did notice looking up the miniseries. Sadly, both of those actors are gone, and neither of them were particularly very old. I have yet to reread Christine and Firestarter, which I think were the next books before The Shining. So I'll have to check that out, but I am definitely looking forward to getting back to this. Then, because I am trying to get things on track and schedule so I can stick with things, I will be reading Angels and Demons. This is the first Robert Langdon book because that ties in with my massive Da Vinci Code spiral. This is a special illustrated edition copy of the code. I paid $5. It's hardcover. You can see it's huge. There are illustrations throughout, and I'll cover this a bit more in detail when I talk about the Da Vinci Code. Now, my other copy, which is also hardcover, and oddly enough, when I eliminated all my fiction books, 2 complete bookcases worth several years ago, the Da Vinci Code isn't one of the books that left. But that was because I had the book called The Secrets of the Code, and I figured I needed those together. And I finally just read The Secrets of the Code. I think it was 2 years ago now. So that copy of the Da Vinci Code is going to be tagged, colored, written in, because it relates back to the Bible studies and references and so many other books. If you've seen Tiki and I getting that cupboard organized, that shelf currently has, I think, 76 or 78 books on it. According to my master book list, I have over 100 books that relate to that spiral. So no, they don't all fit on the shelf, and at the moment I'm trying to decide whether I'm just going to have a Da Vinci Code bookcase. I have an empty bookcase downstairs that's about the size of this one with 3 shelves. So we'll see. That brings me to, and I did show this little guy in my community post. This is a gorgeous turtle, and it was a gift from one of my students named Travis. Now, Travis has a special story. One, the student who gave me this beautiful gift, such a sweetheart, and I do hope he's doing well. And he shared turtle with me for a number of reasons. And yes, he does have Native American ancestry. So that makes this immensely special to me. It's also special because I always had different things in my resource room, and students were allowed to, play with them and all of that. And one day, and this was in a high school, and one day one of the students had one of the items off my shelves and broke it, and it was no big deal to him. No effort or intention of replacing it, because that's what this particular student was like. But Travis felt bad that something had been broken. So although he couldn't find the item to replace what was broken, instead he brought in this beautifully carved and crafted turtle. And it just meant the world to me because, he realized something had been damaged and broken. He knew the other individual was not going to make amends. And so he generously gifted me this beautiful turtle. So not only do I have wonderful memories of Travis, but turtle will also be tying into a video that I will be making. I also have pictures of the raptors, Sheena and Isis, and that has to do with spring cleaning, because as I've mentioned before, animal guides are a big part of my life. I think that pretty much covers what to expect in May. As I say every now and again, the plan was. So these are what the plans are, and we'll see at the end of the month how those all play out. Be sure to check out all the channels that I've mentioned in the description box down below, and go show their channels some love. Be sure to check out the work of our fellow booktube authors. There's many of them out there producing great works. Sadly, no, you cannot always find their works in independent bookstores or like an Indigo or a Barnes and Noble, but you can find them on Amazon. So be sure to check out those locations and support our author booktubers. Until next time, be well, be safe, and big hugs.